So as crazy as the end of the episode was with Kenpachi, I do gotta make a mention of this. This has to be one of the biggest glow-ups I think I can recall in anime. I mean, I knew that she was smaller at some point, but I didn't quite expect to see it in a matter of minutes. Like, introduces the biggest Luffy from One Piece dinner imaginable, and then comes in casually says, oh yeah, use up all my spiritual power. Now this is what I look like. And the fact that not once, not twice, I think it was like 3 times we focus on the trio here, and they're just like drooling. Mouth continues to open more and more and more as the conversation goes on, as they actually have a pretty interesting conversation about spiritual presence and everything, and just the whole concept of why is it after dealing with all of the death and shit we have, are we soaking in a spa and eating food? And honestly, my boy says it right. Renji's like, hey, you know, we were beaten, we needed to heal, now we need to recharge, and it all makes sense. Though, obviously, the more and more they meet along their journey of kind of regrouping and powering back up, the more difficult it's going to get for them. But it was a very effective slice of life moment to not only progress their regeneration, their kind of like regrouping, figuring out where they need to go. It was just honestly hilarious and just amazing. And then they casually have like the new head captain want to power up Kenpachi even more than he's already powered up, which makes sense. I mean, one of the biggest beasts in Bleach. It's no wonder why you're gonna put some money on him maybe being one of your ace in the holes when it comes to the rematch round 2 of literally this godforsaken war. But holy shit, there was some death blows that I was like, are you actually going to commit to this? Especially after casually saying only one can live, but leave it to Bleach to throw me for a loop. Now, full live reaction is available on the Patreon if you're interested, but I think the first thing I want to talk about is the Kenpachi stuff, because ever since I started reading Bleach when I was catching up so I could watch this arc blind, Kenpachi was easily one of the best characters in my opinion. Just there's such a presence, there's such an aura about him. And to see how even in the middle of the battle that we just ended with, right? I mean, they did a great job at like explaining like he was doing things that hardly anyone could. And yes, he may not have been good enough for the Quincy King, but he still was doing a great job. So the concept of, you know, even in this episode, he says, basically, if you lose, I'm basically a criminal, but if I win and I'm strong enough, I'm gonna more or less be a hero. I'm gonna be the signature weapon for these people. And the fact of the matter is, most people are basically opposed to giving Kenpachi any more power than he already has. Even though I think Kenpachi's one of the small handful of people that you probably should be betting on right now. It's understandable why a lot of people would be fearful, because he is kind of like a rhino in a china shop. He's gonna break a few things before getting to the person maybe you want him to hurt. But the fact that the new head captain, which honestly probably the only person who you could promote at this point, I think most level-headed, most responsible, now that, you know, our boy Yamamoto is no longer with us, rip. I mean, still, great badass character, but still kind of hard to believe that he's actually gone sort of a thing. The fact of the matter is, he's pretty much like, he's doing what he thinks is right, which is what you need to do in the case of having, I don't know, let's just say 20% of Soul Society still able to walk without a cane, right? The fact of the matter is, Kenpachi's the one to bet on. And then you have Murder Mommy come in, who, you see this scar, right? And she talks about how, like, it's the one scar that she ended up getting from him, and the fact that she's more or less forcing him in these life or death moments, because Kenpachi, he gets stronger the more times he basically walks that fine line of, is he about to die or is he going to bounce back and live? And to see the moment where she actually stabs him, I totally thought that was real. I didn't think that was a vision or something that he was imagining or any sort of like blue balls moment. I didn't think he was dying in that moment, but I thought what was going to happen was they were going to quickly end this episode with him actually doing a fatal blow to her. And the wound that he had on his neck would be, obviously, it's painful, but he wouldn't die from it. The fact that it was all in his head, I thought was a really brilliant directing choice, because there's just something about that fight in general that it makes it feel like, okay, if we're going to place money, he's saying one of these two is going to end up dead. I'm placing my money on Kenpachi surviving. It feels like the likely bet, just knowing how stories typically go. But most importantly, Kenpachi he feels too important right now, especially given what the head captain wants from him right now, right? But the fact that they actually are able to make me say, like, holy shit, are they actually screwed with me right now? You're gonna take care of one of my biggest and favorite characters in this series, and just to see the episode, because, I mean, on one hand, I was kind of expecting something to kick off in this episode, but I was more focusing on Ichigo, sort of like, oh, you know, he'll meet up with one of the other five, and obviously they'll throw him into, like, a big action or something like like that. But no, instead, that stuff was more of the downtime, the slice of life, and kind of getting the characters to catch their wind and regroup. And then Kenpachi stuff came in, and in a few minutes of just some really smooth animation, they really made it feel life or death, and it didn't feel like someone just saying, oh, only one can live. Just something about the entire atmosphere was like, oh shit, they ain't kidding around. That actually feels life or death, and I imagine Murder Mommy isn't gonna make it out of this one, but I guess we'll see, right? Like I mentioned at the start of the video though, the whole glow up was an interesting one because immediately when I saw the food, I was like, holy shit, like there's like a hamburger that's like that wide and it's stacked like, I don't know, probably like that high or something. It was pretty ridiculous, but I actually really appreciated Renji and Ichigo because prior to them dropping their jaw to the floor because of the hot woman in front of them or even drooling at the delicious food, the fact of the matter is, I mean, someone like Ichigo, his entire drive is to protect people, right? Like that's his big goal, is he wants to protect those he cares about. And for him to more or less just take a step back and be like, what the hell are we doing? I appreciate that Renji, was just more like, this is what we have to do. I think both of them had a reasonable opinion of the situation. Ichigo feels like a failure because he wasn't able to protect, and how many lives could he have saved if he was just a little quicker? All we're doing now is soaking in the spa, goofing off, and eating some delicious food. Like, what's the point of it? Well, obviously, logical response, you need to heal, you need to get your energy back, but it's understandable the self-doubt there, and I really appreciate that little moment and how they could introduce comedy, some kind of heart-tugging moments without trying to make you shed a tear or anything. More so just saying like, these characters have went through the ringer and then some, and just to see like them know that this isn't gonna last forever, like what the hell are we doing? I thought it was a great little moment, and I think these moments in general are kind of like where the anime really elevates a manga panel, because when I was reading the Bleach manga up till this arc, ultimately like the stuff that I would pay the most attention to were like the big shocking reveals, some of the action panels, and you take an extra minute or two to gloss over all the art and really soak in the details. When it came to a lot of the simpler stuff, the comedy moments and stuff, you could easily fast read through all that stuff. But I find the anime, they do something in a way that it just makes it feel a lot more entertaining. The voice actors do a great job, the color palette does a great job to help these character models pop, and I think the Bleach anime, especially with the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, I mean, the only anime section I watched prior were like key fight scenes, of course, because who the hell wouldn't watch the key Bleach fight scenes, because they're amazing. So I really am enjoying Bleach for more than just like, oh man, look at that crazy action at the end with Kenpachi. It's also those slower moments with Ichigo that just, there's something about the production that just makes me happy that it's getting this much attention, and that they're deciding not to do like a 4-core back-to-back, but rather split it up over 4 cores to let the production remain strong, as it has been for now 9 episodes. Overall, it was a very enjoyable episode, ended on a bang and had some goofy, funny moments. I mean, at one point when, like at the start of the episode, when he was in the spa, I mean, they just casually reveal like the reason they're wearing like those suits is so that their muscles don't explode from like healing and stuff. Or the fact that he has like a towel dangling over his head. I'm just like, there's some little funny gags or some like holy shit moments that are just easy to be glossed over but are kind of insane in their own right, and that's why I like episodes like these. But thoughts and feelings yourself down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Like I mentioned, there's a full live reaction available on the Patreon, and you can also get video shoutouts like a few are about to get here. So we got Third Dynasty, Kevin J. Coleman, and Durberg Jude. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Have a good one.